Nie wolno wznosić się za wysoko. Nie wolno wznosić się za wysoko. Nie wolno wznosić się za wysoko. Nie wolno wznosić się za wysoko.
Good morning, good day. Today in English version to the listener who is talking English and understand English and unfortunately doesn't understand Polish language. Even they do not understand what is going on in Poland last years. Let me introduce Mr. Michał Wawrykiewicz, Polish lawyer, who is a brave lawyer fighting for democracy all over the world, especially in Europe. And let me say good day for a special day today, Michał. We are inviting all of you to listen and don't hesitate to ask us, or especially Michał, for the question. Let's start. Michał, how it started in Poland?
Well, thank you for your invitation. Thank you for having me. It is a pleasure to talk about a Polish situation in the middle between yesterday's anniversary of the Polish accession to European Union and tomorrow's anniversary of Polish first constitution, actually the first constitution in Europe, second in the world after American one. And maybe let's get back to the history. Maybe let's get back to 1989, because actually in 1989, after 50 years of communism in Poland, we got back the independence and democracy. We liberated from the communism, and this is the story. This is the moment when it started, when then Polish society started to build democracy, to build independency and constitutional state. Because what happened in Poland for the last 7 years, what happened in Poland after 2015, it's a very good example of how relatively stable democracy can be destroyed within a very short period of time by a group of autocrats who were elected using democratic mechanisms. And we have to remember that we have dealt with such a situation many times in a history when autocratic, even the most horrible autocratic regimes were elected at the beginning using democratic mechanisms. Most often after, under the influence, huge influence, strong influence of the populists, of the willingness or the need of the society to introduce something new, to change, to introduce new ideas, maybe to exchange the mass which characterizes democracy into an order that can bring someone who rules with a strong hand. So at the beginning, sometimes it looks attractive for the society, and government is talking about bringing back the dignity of individual, the dignity of a nation, and brings new programs, social transfers, and so on. But we know that it always ends very bad, and it always is paid for with the suffering of many people, with the decline of the rule of law, decline of economy, and the loss of the international credibility. And this is the example of Poland. This is what happened in Poland within last 7 or almost 8 years. And this is how the story started, because maybe, as I said at the beginning, let's get back to 1989, because 1989 was the moment when the communism collapsed in the whole Eastern and Central Europe, but it started in Poland. In Poland, at the beginning of 1989, the round table, I mean the negotiations between Solidarity movement led by the great leader Lech Wałęsa. They started negotiations at the round table with communist regime, with the representatives of communist regime. And as a consequence of this round table, they signed an arrangement. And as a consequence of this arrangement, we had the first free election, partly free election, but first election in the Eastern and Central Europe after the communist era. It was on the 4th of June 1989, the same date when the huge massacre on the Tiananmen Square in Beijing had place. So at that moment, we had these partly free elections, and the Solidarity movement won 35% of places in the parliament, and they were able in a very short period of time to create the first non-communist government in the Central and Eastern Europe. So that was in the middle of the vacation in August. So many months before Berlin Wall collapsed, many months before other countries like Czechoslovakia, like Hungary, liberated from communists, and finally Romania with a very bloody revolution in December 1989. That was a huge victory of the democracy, because we were able to collapse, we were able to beat the communist regime without any blood on the street. So that was a successful democratic revolution in Poland. Since that time, for next 25 years, we've been able to build democratic institutions like Constitutional Court, Supreme Court, like two-chamber parliament with lower chamber and Senate, like civil society with many NGOs, like free press, free media, and all other factors, fuses of the democracy. So at the end of 2015, we had an impression, I had an impression, and a huge part of the society had an impression that actually we already built the stable democratic society. So, but what happened in 2015 appeared to be the signal that we were wrong. Because in 2015, first we had the presidential election, and the candidate of the party, which is somehow perversely called Law and Justice, and this candidate, Andrzej Duda, won the election and became Polish president. And then in autumn, we had a parliamentary election, and the same party, Law and Justice, won the elections and took the power. And Mr. Jarosław Kaczyński, the leader of the party, became actually the leader of the country, because they returned to the communist era when it comes to patterns of the government. Because nowadays, not the prime minister, not the president, not anyone else is the leader of the government of the country, but the leader of the party. It was the same pattern during the communist era, when the leader of the communist party was the leader of the country. So we are in the same situation when Jarosław Kaczyński, as a leader of the party, of the Law and Justice Party, is the leader of the country, and other, like prime minister or of the president, are following his orders. So right now we have, I would say, three most important persons in key figures in our politics when it comes to the government. First, of course, is Jarosław Kaczynski, the leader of the party. Then President Duda, who is, I would describe him as a man of no charisma, and he's mostly following the orders from the party, from the leader of the party. And he's signing everything, mostly everything what is put on his desk by the leader of the party, by the parliament. So he even has a nickname Pen, because he's signing everything. So, but he's important from a formal point of view, because according to the Polish constitution, the president is the one who is signing all the laws passed by parliament, and he's the one also from the independence of judiciary, important person, because he's the one who is appointing all judges in Poland, all justices of the Supreme Court. He's the one who signs the appointments. He's the one who signs the promotion of all the judges in Poland. His signature is important from the formal point of view. When it comes to the issue that I am going to mostly tell about you today, I mean the judiciary. And the third person is the Minister of Justice. Minister of Justice, his name is Zbigniew Ziobro. He is at the same time the Minister of Justice and the Prosecutor General. It is important because in 2016, at the beginning of 2016, the new government joined these two positions, the position of the Minister of Justice, who is a politician, who is a member of the government, and the position of the Prosecutor General. So he has the full control over prosecutor office. So since that time, for next couple of years, prosecutor office is completely subordinated to the Prosecutor General, who is, as I said, the politician, who is a member of the government, who is a Minister of Justice. And the prosecutor office, since 2016, is a very important tool, a very important instrument in the hand of the government, in the hand of the ruling party, because since that time, we didn't face even one procedure, the criminal procedure, even one criminal charge against anyone from the government or from the circle of the government, from the circle of friends of the government. So this is a very important and very warning sign for the society that actually we don't have independent prosecutor office in Poland since that time. But coming back to the beginning of government of law and justice in Poland, 2015, 2016, the first assault on the constitutional democratic institutions started from Constitutional Court. 2015, the end of 2015, the leader of the party and the party Law and Justice decided to attack independent Constitutional Court. What is the Constitutional Court in Poland? This is a special constitutional body that is designed in the constitution to protect constitutionality of all laws passed by parliament. So it is designed to assess if the laws which are passed by parliament are following the constitution, are compliant with the constitution or not. And it has to be, of course, it has to be independent from the government. It has to be independent from the parliament. It has to be independent judicial body. But Law and Justice was able, in a very brutal way, to paralyze actually the Constitutional Court within 1 year. So they changed the arithmetics inside the Constitutional Court. They refused to appoint legally appointed judges of the Constitutional Court, and they decided to appoint new ones. So they changed the arithmetics. They appointed a new president of the Constitutional Court, and since actually December 2016, we do not have independent Constitutional Court in Poland. What it means that they can pass any law in the parliament, and there is no constitutional body that can verify this law, if it is constitutional or not. So Law and Justice, since the beginning, since 2015 until now, they don't have constitutional majority in the parliament. So they cannot amend the constitution, but they can pass any law with a simple majority, and there is no systemic verification of the constitutionality of these laws passed by parliament. So it is a very comfortable situation for the government because no one can stop them, and they can introduce any law using just a simple majority. I mean, simple majority is a 50% plus one in a parliament. In our constitution, in our system, Senate has a different position, for example, than to the United States. Because in the United States, to pass any law, you have to have an agreement of both chambers of the Congress. So lower chamber and the Senate has to agree for any law which is passed. In Poland, Senate doesn't have that kind of right. They can just amend the law which was passed by lower chamber by Sejm, but then this law gets back to lower chamber, and lower chamber, using just a simple majority, can reject all the amendments which are described by Senate. So actually having majority in a lower chamber of the parliament, they have a full power. So Constitutional Court was the first target of assault. The second target was a prosecutor's office, as I described you. Right now, they have a full control of a prosecutor office. They can order any prosecutor in the country to do whatever, to start criminal proceedings against anyone from the opposition, from the civil society, from judicial body, from anyone who opposes government. So this is the very important tool in the hand of the government. Anyone can be indicted by the prosecutor office, which is fully subordinated by the government. Third point of the assault, constitutional assault, was I would say public media. Public media. Also in 2016, at the beginning of 2016, they took the full control of public media, mainly television and radio. So since that time, public media became a propaganda machine in the hand of the government. It is unbelievable if you would see how the Polish television behaves. What you can hear there is the permanent glorification of the government. It's a permanent hate speech against the opposition. So anyone who opposes government is criticized, fully criticized by Polish television, Polish public television. So it is a propaganda machine in the hand of the government. And it is important because a huge part of our country, of Poland, is not covered by any other media. So those people, especially in the villages, in the small towns, have to just watch the public television. They have to listen to what they are saying, and they have to listen to this glorification of the government and criticizing sometimes hate speech against opposition and the civil society and the legal communities. So this is a very important factor. And I remember television during the communist era. It was also horrible. But it was, I would say, at the end of communism, it was a little bit more sophisticated. Right now, it's so primitive propaganda machine that you wouldn't believe it. So this is the third point, and fourth point of the primary assault on the constitution, on the democratic institution, was the electoral system. So they attacked the electoral system also. They changed the electoral law. They changed electoral clerks. And finally, they created a special chamber in the Supreme Court, which is called the Chamber of the Public Control and Extraordinary Appeal. And this chamber is fully staffed by their people loyal to the government through the new National Judiciary Council. And this chamber is responsible for acceptance of election results. So we had a very good example in 2020 during the presidential election when we had two candidates and there was a very small gap between incumbent president Andrzej Duda and the opposition candidate Rafał Trzaskowski, only 200,000 votes actually between them. And so 30 million voters and 200,000 votes, the difference between them. So having in mind the huge, incredible influence of public media propaganda, when we had actually all the time the political campaign for the incumbent president in public media, we had incredible financial support for incumbent president. So I would say definitely that these elections were not fair. Maybe they were free, but not fair. And we had 6,400 claims against these elections from all over the world, from the United States, from UK, from Poland, from other countries, even from Australia and other countries where Poles entitled to vote are living. And all of these 6,400 claims were rejected by this special chamber in the Supreme Court. So it shows that we do not have fair elections in Poland, and we are very afraid of this year parliamentary elections, because having this electoral system in the hand of the government, having this special chamber in the hand of the government, the elections are not free and are not fair. Like Stalin used to say, it doesn't matter who votes, it matters who counts the votes. So this is what we are facing in Poland right now. And then 2017, from the perspective of the destruction of independence of judiciary in Poland, that was a very significant moment, very significant year, because government decided to introduce 3 new laws: the law on the Supreme Court, the law on the National Judiciary Council, and the law on the common courts. 3 very important laws that changed everything in our system of judiciary. Can you imagine that they decided at the beginning, the primary idea was to expel all the justices of the Supreme Court from the Supreme Court? Unbelievable, the horror of the horrors for lawyers. How can the executive power and the parliament decide to expel all the justices of the Supreme Court? It's not possible. But they decided to do that. And at that time, we had a huge protest on the streets of the Polish civil society. That was very important, because actually I can say that Polish civil society, I think that you agree with me, Andrzej, that Polish society was very active from the beginning of this constitutional assault, from 2015. From 2015, we had thousands of people that took the streets and protested against the destruction of Polish democracy, destruction of our position in Europe, in the European Union. As I said yesterday, we celebrated 19th anniversary of Polish accession to the European Union. And a huge part of the society, 80% of Polish society, are supporters of the European Union. They understand that European Union is incredibly huge amount of money, of funds that were brought to Poland. It is 141.8 billion euros that we received from the European Union throughout these years. And this is an infrastructure. There are roads, railroads, stadiums, hospitals, everything. We just can look around and we can see the signs, the labels with the European Union flag everywhere. This is what European Union means. This is a huge civilization step. Yeah, my son.
Just one explanation, please, because maybe not everybody understand the difference between English American billion and Polish milliard. American billion means milliard in Polish language. Just a short explanation.
Yeah, exactly,
Please
exactly.
continue.
This is incredibly huge amount of money. It's around 650 billion Polish zlotys. So this is the value of 1 year budget of Poland. So you can imagine that this is the amount of money that we just got from Brussels for being the member state of the European Union. But coming back to 2017, as I said, 3 new laws: the law on the Supreme Court, the law on a National Judiciary Council. What is the National Judiciary Council? Actually, this is the main judicial body in our constitution. This is the council, which is composed of the representatives of 3 branches of the executive power, legislative power, and judiciary. The majority in this council have a judiciary. So this is 25 people, and 15 of them are the representatives of the judiciary. And according to the constitution, this part of the council should be elected, should be appointed by the representatives of the judiciary, by their peers. But what government did, they just made a simple trick. They changed a simple law in the parliament saying that this part of the council will be selected and will be appointed by the parliament, the simple majority in the parliament. So they changed this independent council into a political body, fully political and fully captured, loyal to the government. So the Constitution, the National Council of Judiciary is the guardian of independence of judiciary, and from the practical point of view, is the one who selects and appoints the candidates for judges and also for justices in the Supreme Court. So this is very, very important, the most important judicial body in our system. So, but the government changed it at that time in 2017 into a factory of judges, actually. They are producing judges every day, almost every day. They are preparing new motions, which are sent to the presidential office at his desk, and he signs all of these appointments. Can you imagine that they produce, because this is a proper word, they produced 3,000 neo-judges, because this is how we call them. The neo-judges, I mean the judges who are appointed in an improper way, selected and appointed by the body which is unconstitutional. I mean this new National Judiciary Council, which is called by us Neo-National Judiciary Council. So that was a very important moment, and that was the time in the middle of vacation when people protested on the street in almost 300 places in Poland, not only in big cities like Warsaw, Krakow, or Gdańsk, or Poznań, but also in small towns, wherever court in Poland is located. So there, for around 10 days, people protested everywhere, and that was a very significant sign of the democratic part of the society, that they don't agree for all of these changes devastating independence of judiciary in Poland. But finally, the government and the president, they did their job, and they introduced these new laws. They changed this National Judiciary Council. They changed the Supreme Court, so because finally they decided not to expel everyone from the Supreme Court, but to expel only those who are over 65. Those justices in the Supreme Court who are over 65, it was 40% of the Supreme Court, including the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, Professor Małgorzata Gersdorf. She was in the middle of her constitutional term at that time. The Constitution provides 6 years constitutional term for the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and she was in the middle of that term, and they decided to expel her as well. And finally, third law, the law on the common courts, we changed a lot when it comes to functioning of the common courts in Poland, and when it comes to the new system of disciplinary proceedings against Polish judges. You can see on the picture Judge Igor Tuleya. He was, and he still is, one of the heroes among judges who decided to protect the independence of judiciary, to protect democratic values in our system, and they were repressed from the beginning. So we have a huge group of judges who are repressed by the government and this new disciplinary machine. This is Judge Waldemar Żurek, also one of the main key figures of the opposition of the judicial community against these anti-democratic changes in the system. What happened then? What is important from the point of view of this battle against anti-democratic changes in our system? As I said, the activeness of the civil society, this is very important, and also the protection of our system from institutions of European Union, not only of the European Union, also of the Council of Europe, I mean the European Court of Human Rights. So in 2018, a legal community and the civil society started to push European institutions to react on what is going on in Poland, because all of these changes that I described to you were not only violating Polish constitution, but also violating European standards, violating the Treaty on the European Union, violating the Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union, and violating, finally, the Convention on Human Rights, European Convention on Human Rights. So at the end of 2017, European Commission reacted and started for the first time in the history of the European Union, the procedure based on the Article 7 of the treaty. This is the procedure against the country who violates the major values of the European Union. We have these major values of the European Union described in Article 2 of the Treaty on the European Union, and this is democracy, this is freedom, this is also rule of law and the dignity of human beings. So the rule of law, as it was violating from the beginning, the European Commission reacted and triggered this procedure for the first time in the history. Then they triggered other procedures. They had to trigger in so-called infringement procedure, protection of the justices of the Supreme Court. So they decided to file a claim to the Court of Justice in Luxembourg. The Court of Justice in Luxembourg is the most important court in the European Union, which is responsible for the interpretation of the European Union law in the whole European Union, in every 27 states of the European Union. So the first infringement procedure was brought by the Commission to the Court of Justice in Luxembourg in 2018. And as a consequence of that, the Court of Justice in Luxembourg issued the decision, so-called interim measure, in October 2018, saying that these justices of the Polish Supreme Court has to get back to the adjudication, that the exclusion of them is illegal. So they have a right to get back to the court, and the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, Professor Małgorzata Gersdorf, is entitled to finish her constitutional term of office. So that was actually the first huge victory of the European institutions against those in Warsaw who are violating European standards. And the Polish government had to introduce these decisions of the Court of Justice. And actually, Polish justice of the Supreme Court got back to the adjudication, got back to the Supreme Court in Warsaw, and it appeared to be the first significant victory in this war, in this battle for the rule of law in Poland. And then many other proceedings started in front of both courts, Court of Justice in Luxembourg and Court of Human Rights in Strasbourg. Right now we have around 100 proceedings in both these courts, and we have already around 50 proceedings, 50 cases which are closed. I mean, only these proceedings which are somehow connected with the rule of law in Poland, with the destruction of the independence of judiciary. And can you imagine, all of these cases are lost by Polish government. So this is a very significant confirmation that all of these amendments in the Polish system, which were introduced by Polish government within the last 7 years, are not following European standards, are not following the treaties and the Convention on Human Rights. Because why? Because the Convention on Human Rights, the treaties, and the Polish Constitution provides the right of all citizens of Poland and all citizens of European Union to be able to have the guarantee of independent and impartial court. This is as simple as that. All of us has a right to stand in front of the impartial and independent court. And this is what our government destroyed. This is what our government decided to capture. They decided to have a full control over the judiciary, to have a full control over all decisions of the court, because they have to be, because this is very simple. The independent and free courts are the only possible and efficient control of the government. Anyone else, no one else can control the government. Only the independent and impartial court can do that. And also at the same time, impartial and independent court is the only protection, only shield for the citizen of the country. Because when you compare the strength of the country against the citizen is very small against a huge country. So only the independent court can protect this small citizen. This is as simple as that. And this is what we are fighting for. And this is why we have such a strong intervention from European Union institutions, from the institutions of the Council of Europe, and finally from American administration. This is what the President Biden and the American administration for the last 2 years are expressing very, very precisely, that the member state of the NATO has to be a democratic country that preserves the democratic values like the rule of law. And this is what is this battle for. So what else I can tell you about this story? As I said, the engagement of a Polish civil society was significant from the beginning. And this is what is the difference, a very important difference between, for example, Poland and Hungary. Poland and Hungary right now are two black sheep in Europe. Those two countries who are stepping forward the autocracy and introducing autocratic kind of ruling in our country, exchanging this democracy, exchanging European democratic values into autocratic Eastern values, actually. So in Hungary, civil society was very silent from the beginning. Since Orban started the government in 2010, civil society of of Hungary was unfortunately very passive, and the legal community was very passive from the beginning. And then also in the opposite, in Poland, civil society was very active since the beginning, and the legal community was very active from the beginning. And that was the surprise for Kaczynski. That was the surprise for the government, because they thought that it would be quite easy to damage, to fight us as a legal community. They thought that that was their position at the beginning, that it would be quite easy to get the control of the courts, to have the courts captured as a public television or as a prosecutor office, and it didn't happen. We still have a significant number of very brave independent judges who are fighting against this destruction of the independence of judiciary and the rule of law, and they are still issuing independent decisions. So you can still you can still stand in front of the independent and impartial court in Poland, even if from the systemic point of view it is damaged. And the government is trying to capture the system of judiciary every day. They have the special disciplinary, I would say, inquisition machine in their hands. They created special disciplinary chamber in the Supreme Court. I told you at the beginning about this special chamber that is responsible for acceptance of the election results. So at the same time, they created the disciplinary chamber, which was especially created to repress independent judges, to expel them from the system if they are not following the orders of the ruling party. And having in their hands two elements, the National Judiciary Council, which and the disciplinary chamber, they had kind of pump in the system. They pumped into the system new judges. As I told you, they pumped into the system around 3,000 new judges, neo judges, out of 10,000. So almost 1/3 of the system are neo judges. And on the other side, they had this disciplinary chamber, which was designed to pump out of the system those who are not subordinated to the party's orders, to political orders. So we had, as I told you, a number of cases in both European courts, and all of these cases were won. So whatever I'm telling you right now is not my opinion. It's not opinion of someone else from the civil society or from the legal community. This is certified many times by European courts, that we are right, that what the government is doing is the violation of one, Polish constitution, and two, European standards. In 2018, we had to create a special coalition of a civil society organization, NGOs, and associations of judges, associations of lawyers, which is called Justice Defense Committee. Justice Defense Committee is a special committee designed to protect the rights of independent judges, justices of the Supreme Court, to provide them legal aid, to protect them, to represent them in the courts once they have the disciplinary proceedings, to represent them in front of European courts. So, for example, me and my colleagues from Free Courts Initiative is a small initiative of lawyers that I was a co-founder of this initiative together with my fantastic colleagues, and we started our activity in 2017, and we are part of this Justice Defense Committee, and we are representatives of Polish judges, Polish justices of the Supreme Court. We had an honor, a privilege to represent them in front of the Court of Justice in Luxembourg, in Court of Human Rights in Strasbourg, in Polish courts, in the Polish Supreme Court also. So Justice Defense Committee has, under its umbrella, we have even more than 200 cases. Can you imagine 200 cases of Polish judges, Polish prosecutors who are repressed by the country, who are repressed by the government and this special disciplinary machine because they are independent, because they are following European orders, because they are following the decisions of European courts, and they are just implementing European Union law. So this is their only fault. That's why they're repressed by the country. So more or less the situation looks like that. Maybe you have any specific question, Andrzej, so I'm ready to answer any of them.
Yes, no, of course. There, you talk about organized defense. You told about our nation defense. You told us about the protesters from the beginning. It was hundreds, thousands. Now a little bit lower activity, but still there is some very important activities like Tour de Constituția, which is starting, unfortunately, at the same time, 4th of June, where Mr. Tusk asked for joining the very, very important march in Warsaw. But never mind, this is third time with Tour de Constituția starting his activity. And this year, we call this activity Głosuję na Polskę. We are voting for Poland. And the very important thing is that the lawyers, very wide of lawyers, are joining this activity, this idea. And I have some pictures, of course, of you and the other former fighters for freedom, for free Poland. And one explanation more. I don't have any picture of government, because I don't wanna support Polish official TV, which is giving us 1 million pictures each day, each second of not true. They are lying. And therefore, I have in my big album a lot of pictures of fine pictures, very, very nice pictures, like this, like you said, like Mr. Valenza, like fighters for freedom from the 80s, from Solidarność, also from the very beginning, as you said, in 2015, plenty of them. And now I'm ready to ask you about the activities of the other society. For example, prosecutors. They have their own organization, which is named Lex Super Omnia. This is, as you said before, Wolne Sądy, also Justitia, also Temis. Could you please tell me a few words about this very good organizations?
Well, all of these organizations that you named are inside Justice Defense Committee that I already told you about, which is the coalition of all the legal organizations and other NGOs which are involved in the battle for the independence of judiciary. Also, we also have Amnesty International Poland inside the Justice Defense Committee. We have Helsinki Foundation for Human Rights inside the Justice Defense Committee. We have this Lex Super Omnia, Justitia Association of Polish Judges, Temis Association of Polish Judges, free courts, all of these organizations are inside. So that's why we built this coalition. And the 4th of June is also the anniversary of COS, of Justice Defense Committee. So on the 4th of June, we'll have the 5th anniversary of establishing of Justice Defense Committee. All of these, of course, all of these organizations are also providing the individual activity, like you mentioned the Association of Polish Prosecutors. This is very important and significant organization, because this is the organization of those prosecutors who are still fighting against the oppression of the country and against the repressions inside the community of prosecutors. Because as I told you at the beginning, the whole prosecutor office is in the hand of the Minister of Justice, who rules a very strong hand all the prosecutor office. And this is 6,000 people. This is a huge army of prosecutors that is serving to the Minister of Justice and the Prosecutor General. And inside this army, we have 200 people who are brave enough to oppose these autocratic manners. And these 200 people are created the Lex Super Omnia Association of Prosecutors, and they are very brave. They are very repressed as judges, or even more than judges. They have a lot of disciplinary proceedings. They are sometimes sent out from Warsaw for 6 months to 500 kilometers from Warsaw, just as a punishment. So this is how it works. If you are not following the line of the political party, which is the ruling party in Poland, then you have troubles. You can your salary can be cut off, you can be sent to the other part of Poland as a punishment. You can have dozens of disciplinary proceedings, and so on, so on. This is how it looks. And even though these people are brave enough to fight against the suppression and to keep our country believing in the liberation in the nearest future. So I believe that thanks to this organization, thanks to this fantastic legal community that you described, Poland will be able to liberate in a relatively short period of time. We all believe that the opposition, the democratic opposition, is able to win these elections, even if the electoral system is in the hand of the government, even if we don't have a fair elections. I believe that this margin will be huge enough to beat the ruling party, the Law and Justice Party, and to re-establish in Poland the rule of law, to re-establish in Poland Western democracy, and to get back to Europe, to get back to European Union as a legitimate member of the European Union. Because we have to say that like 7-8 years ago, Poland was one of the most important countries of the European Union, one of the 5-6 most important countries, because at that time, Great Britain decided to leave European Union, and we had Germany, we had France, we had Spain, we had Italy. So this is 4. And fifth biggest country was Poland, and fifth most important country was Poland. And we sat at the same table with the most important countries of the European Union. We had a very significant role when it comes to the future of the European Union. And the Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk became a president of the European Council at that time, which was the most important figure in the European Union. So that described the position of Poland in the European Union. Right now, we are nobody in the European Union. Nobody wants to talk to us. Nobody wants to hear to us. We are, as I say, together with Hungary, two black sheep in Europe, and European institutions have a permanent problem with Poland. As I said, we had dozens of cases in the European Court of Justice in Luxembourg. regarding Poland. We have fines. We have fines block. This is the important issue that we didn't talk about. That European Union designed a special program, a recovery and resilience fund for the member states of the European Union to restore the economy of the European Union countries after the pandemic. It was worth 800 billion euros, the biggest financial program since the Marshall Plan. And out of these 800 billion euros, 58 billion euros were designed to Poland. And we do not have even 1 cent, even €1 out of this amount. Why? Because we are violating the rule of law standards, and the European Commission decided to block these funds for Poland. And this is the description of the position of Poland in Europe. So I also believe that in the nearest future, Poland and the new Polish government and the Polish society, and also legal community, will take a significant role in that process of re-establishing the Polish position in the European Union. But you also ask about these initiatives like Tour de Konstytucja. This is very important, fantastic program when the Polish judges, lawyers, prosecutors, and the representatives of the civil society are traveling around Poland and discussing with the society, with the citizens, about the importance of the constitution, about why this legislation, the major legislation, is so important for us, why it is so significant for our lives. And when it comes to Europe, why the standards described in the constitutions are following the standards described in the treaties, why it is absolutely similar, and why we should get back to preservation of the Polish constitution in Poland, why the democratic system is better than the autocratic system for the citizens. This is the one program. But I have to also admit that we had a couple of years before, since 2016, a program which is called the Constitutional Week. The educational program brought by my colleagues from Free Courts Initiative, Sylwia Gregorczyk-Abram and Maria Eichhardt. They started this program and it is organized every half a year in Polish schools where around 600 Polish lawyers, completely voluntarily, are having classes with kids, young kids, and also a little bit older. And every half a year, we have 50,000, 60,000 sometimes pupils which are involved in these programs. So this is very important educational program, and it starts again. The new edition starts on the 29th of May this year. So before 4th of June. Then we also have a lot of that kind of initiatives in Poland, fortunately, and that is the proof of the activeness of the Polish civil society. The Polish civil society, the legal community, as I am saying again and again, is very active, and it is very important, because without this activeness of Polish civil society, without this activeness of the Polish legal community, we wouldn't be at the place where we are. We would be in a Hungarian position where they are inside the autocracy, and unfortunately they don't have chances to liberate for next many years.
Well, I don't want to live in a country as the last picture I show you, because we have to listen, we have to say, and we have to see what's going on and be more active. As Professor Turski said, how to say in English, don't be, nie bądź obojętny. It means, please help me. Be active. Be active.
Just be active. Listen and watch what is going on around you, and don't be silent.
Don't be silent. Yeah. Dear Michał, we decide to talk 1 hour. And this, as said before, this program is dedicated to people who want to understand the situation in Poland, even they don't have the voice from the middle of the war, from the lawyer voice of point of view of lawyer. You are the lawyer who is brave and going all over the world and saying the truth. Therefore, I would like to thank you very much. It's really great job you did, and I hope I will continue like that. And this broadcast will help people understand what's going on in Poland and vote in near future for the new Poland, which what I want, what I expect, and I wish to my friends for our Polish citizens. Thank you very much, Michał, and please, this is your last voice for us.
Well, thank you very much for this invitation. I believe that I was helpful and could tell you a little bit about what happened in Poland within the last 7 years. Actually, it's a long story. I could describe you all of these processes for hours, of course, but I believe that what we were able to discuss within the last 1 hour is the most important and the most important issues. And I think the outcome of the whole our discussion is that I believe that thanks to the activeness of Polish civil society, thanks to the awareness of the importance of democracy and all of these values, we'll be able to liberate. And let's believe that this year will be the year of changes in Poland, like 1989, and that horrible time of last 8 years of the backsliding of the democracy will finally end, and we'll be able to rebuild and reconstruct the democracy in Poland and the position of our country in Europe and in the world. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, and hope to see you in the near future talking about the situation in Poland. Thank you very much. Please stay for a second.